Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to my world of crochet. Oh, I see my camera is a little bit aligned. I was like, I'm sitting straight, but the camera was turned like this. Better. Hello. It is Wednesday. It's a little bit past 2 p.m. Central European Time. I was just having to set up the basics, etc. for this live. Also, a few things happened because finally my new laptop arrived, but it arrived today. So obviously I haven't had time to set it up. And I'm not sure if I will have enough time to get to reach to set it up for Friday's live. So it may be that we will first be able to go live with this in February. But hey, that could definitely be a lot worse, right? So we are still heading on with this old-fashioned backend stream from what is it called here from YouTube. Good morning, happy Wednesday, Megan. Good morning and happy Wednesday to you. Also, I finished the days bag since last time. I'm trying just to keep track of everything here. So we are finished. Ta-ta! Sewn together and everything. Yay! Of course, I am going to show this as well in the yarn talk video next week, Friday, but we finished it. And I sew it together, which would be on this side, which you can slightly feel here. It was sewn together with the mattress stitch, but it's still pretty solid. And yeah. So, and I managed to do one more row, and I had about this much yarn left after I had sewn the ends in. So that was a successful version of yarn chicken. The strap is maybe like half an inch or an inch shorter than the pattern, but honestly, still, this is still a good length to put it over your shoulder and carry something in it. So actually, I am pretty pleased with that. Also, I do think it could be the strap gotten a little bit longer because I did use a bigger hook than the pattern says. And that was to adapt to this yarn, etc. But I'm pretty pleased with how it turned out. So yep, band back, gone, done, and dusted. But then also since last, I can chat a bit about it for sure. I have been working a little bit because that was in the car this weekend on the Simple Yet Effective cowl. That said, I did change the pattern up a little bit. Obviously, I adapted the stitches to fit approximately based on circumference and stitch counts based on the swatch I made. So what I am doing, instead of doing the purl, I do this knit, purl, knit, purl, knit, purl around, and then the opposite round, I do it opposite. So it's going to be purl, knit, and then another row of knit, purl, knit, purl. It does still have a bit of tendency of curling, but I believe once this project is complete and I kind of like gets laid out and stretched out, hopefully it will curl less. I do like the effect of the chosen stitch instead of the pure purls. I think that is actually working up really, really nicely. And the yarn, Megan, is this absolutely gorgeous. It's a nice yarn. It's 100% merino. I do have 2 full skeins of this, plus this is the half skein I had. And that is 50 grams, so 1.75 ounces to 200 meters, which is about 200 and a little bit less than 20-ish yards, like 217 to 20 yards. Yeah, so that is progressing, and that is soon going to be my new couch project, because we are just a few inches away from finishing up this beanie, which we started, or I started as well, a week ago, a bit more than a week ago. And that is the last I have of this mill end yarn from Ice, also Ice Yarns. This is the last scrap I have from the last beanie I made, the last rib knit. And this is the last skein I have. So once this skein is complete, I will start pulling from the inside of the skein. I'll use 2 ends, and we will knit this all the way up to the end to being able to make this folded brim. And we already attached yarns once. I need to weave in some ends. So we are about 2 of those ends in, and we are a little bit more than, I think we have like 3.5 inches maybe to go, is my guess. So it's doable. I still think it's possible with this yarn we have here to make it with a full double fold. Yes. Good afternoon, Hella. Welcome, Susan, and hello, Sarah. It's absolutely wonderful to see you. That's been a while. And Megan, yes, I did get my hobby yarn. There will be a yarn haul video on a Monday. Ta-ta. And decision making next week. So sometime, hopefully, maybe halfway-ish February, I should be able to start on the hat glitter shawl. So I definitely have plans. So today I wanted to start working on, or actually continue, because I made the foundation chain, but what I didn't reach to do before I started to go live is actually to count. But I have this blue yarn, which I am making the WaffleChic Shrug in. And let's see if I can actually just find the pattern for you guys, because then I can just quickly show you. I could also just find Ravelry, couldn't I? But I need the pattern in any case. There's a photo of it in the pattern. So, oh, I think I may still have a photo somewhere. I do. So I'm going to open this, just quickly going to share so you guys can see what I am trying to achieve. Ta-da! This is the WaffleChic Shrug. The only difference I make compared to this is that I want the sleeves a little bit longer on my shrug, so it goes like a couple of inches further down, but still stops above the elbow point or joint. But this is as set the shrug that I am going to making. So instead of it's ending up here, it will be ending more like down here. I'm also using a different yarn because I don't have access to the yarn used for this. This yarn, I believe, is, yes, Lion Brand Kubu. Obviously, I don't have Lion Brand yarns. Well, that's not true. I do have some. But Lion Brand for me is more a challenge to obtain. But basically, say any lightweight DK yarn is recommended. And then they're also talking about 4mm hook or any that meets the gauge. The thing is, my gauge doesn't match and the yarn and hook doesn't match. So I've read through the pattern and I've adapted. So I've done my math. Because this yarn calls for a 5 to 6mm hook, and this is done in a 5, so 6 seems like excessively loose. So I have my 5 here, and I just need to count the stitches that we are indeed having an uneven count. So I measured myself. So I partly took my Q points, which is basically where you have your shoulder bone joint sitting out. And I measured that to about where I wanted it on my arms. Then I also took a sweater I have where I know where the Q points are sitting and take that measurement for my back. And based on all of this, I calculated that I should need about 90 centimeters. So that would be, oh, what would that have been in inches? Like, that's a good question, 30 some odd inches. Anyhow, Then also looked at the pattern, because this is a pattern divisible by 3. I made the quick math and said I needed 129 stitches. And then I'm like 1 centimeter or something like that short on that length. But honestly, that's going to be like half a centimeter on each side that it's going to be shorter. I'm not going to cry about that. That basically, in short, what for me, the amount of stitches that needed to make something like 10 inches, not 10 inches, 4 inches, for me made 5. And I didn't want to hook size down because that was going to make this material way more compact. That said, I do feel this is somewhere between a DK weight and a Aran weight, or anyhow the next weight, like between a 3 and a 4 weight. I just made this calculation based on thinking, okay, I know amount of centimeters, the pattern is divisible by 3, so every 3 stitches I could technically stop by quote unquote casting on. What I did was I made a crochet foundation chain in double crochets, and I measured, and if I make 3 more stitches, I can do that, but then it's going to be longer, and then I'll probably rather just play it safe, because it still feels rather long. And I do believe I have enough yarn to do it in any case. But so I'm just going to double check, counting my stitches, that I do have this 129 stitches. And if I do, we are going to do a lot of waffle stitch today, because that is my plan. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 2, 4, 6, 8, 30. So I placed stitch markers every 30 stitches because that was easier, due to 30 being divisible by 3 is 10. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 2, 4, 6, 8, 30. So that's 60. Then we have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 2, 4, 6, 8, 30. So we are at 90. So far it's good. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 26, 28, 30, 120. 2, 4, 6, 8, 9, 29, 129. Perfect. Awesome. Goody, 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 goody. So basically we have these amount of chains, and then we are gonna work the waffle stitch. And I did make a swatch, and I did swatch that up actually in a 4.5mm hook. And I ended up changing to the 5. But that actually looked really nice. Nice stitch definition this yarn will give. So I am really looking forward to that. But it is 129 stitches across. So what I am going to do for you guys is, of course, I should be flipping my screen down. And meanwhile, don't forget to grab something to drink, because we most definitely need to remember to stay hydrated. And as I said, my laptop arrived today, which I'm super happy about. I will start working on setting that up tomorrow, but I really don't know and cannot guarantee I have everything ready for Friday's live. Actually, I kind of doubt it, but maybe it goes smoother than I thought. But usually those things take a lot of time. As I said, I do have this yarn on the spindle. I caked the skein up so it became a cake. I put it on my spindle. I just placed it a bit out here because it gives me some space to work at. And I'm just going to check if my tea has cooled down a bit. It has. Good. So that is the plans for today. What are you ladies working on? Anything interesting? So this pattern actually says chain and then double crochet in the first stitch. So the chain kind of evaluates and allows you to double crochet in the first stitch. What I'm going to do instead is I'm just going to flip the rug around and I'm going to do a stacked double crochet instead of the chain one. I think that gives a much nicer and smoother edging. So that is what I'll do. So that was the first stitch here. And we will also take out these stitch markers as we meet them along the line. Okay, so I did a double crochet here in the first stitch. Then it says front post in the next, and then 2 double crochets, front post, 2 double crochets, front post, etc. Yes, so that's pretty much easy. And it is, as a starting point, a rather easy pattern, what we are going to be doing here. It is an easy repeat. I just need to keep track. And I always find the first row here is a little bit trickier just because, but I am pleased that I did the foundation row. Instead of making a long chain and then working into each stitch. So while the foundation row takes a bit longer to do, I think it's probably equal to making a long chain and then doing double crochet into that chain. And it gives, I find the foundation row gives a much smoother edging. Megan says she is working on the star leaf mosaic hat. I just finished the matching scarf. Wow, it's by Outstanding Crochet. Can I find that on Ravelry? I am curious. I like to add things to my favorites for future project inspiration ideas. Because in that event, obviously, I should definitely go find it on Ravelry. It's where you bought it. Awesome. So this one is also on Ravelry. I link to this pattern in the description box down below for those that are curious. I cannot say yet how and what, but I believe that even though that I'm not following the yarns and actually it's really kind of bright on my hands, I am going to fix that because that is really bright. That's a bit better, I think. Outstanding Crochet. That's actually a name that's rememberable. Outstanding Crochet. And when I'm looking now at the stitch definition, I definitely wouldn't want to work this in a 5.5 or a 6. I think maybe the 4 would have been fine too. But I didn't feel that it was that big of difference. It does help when we get some more stitches in, but we are definitely improving on this. But I think that the 4.5 had probably made them a little bit denser. Natalia Konova. What is it called? Star leaf mosaic hat. I have a sweat star leaf, like sweater too. Popular designs, patterns. Alpine Peak. She is a busy designer for sure. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to save her as a creator on my Ravelry like that. Good morning, Revenant. Helle is right now knitting on the little Esther jacket from Petite Knit. That is a Danish designer, for those that's curious. So that's a big question. Do you think this is too airy? Or do you think it's just fine? I think it's probably just fine. It's just me thinking stuff should be super dense. But if it's dense, it's not flexible. This is really flexible. I want that. So I really don't think that's 5 millimeters going to be the difference. Thank you, Sarah. Yeah, so Megan, I just favorite her as a designer for my list, and I'll go through all of it later, because else I'll just sit and look at that all day, and that is not gonna help me get stuff done. I have most definitely been needing to craft a bit. I didn't craft that much yesterday. Also, I won't get much crafting done this evening. That's a fact, I know. And I'm also fine with that. That's not the issue. But that is why I'd really like to get some crafting done today. Then also next week, we will have the summary of my progression of decreasing my stash for January. But I probably won't have time to record that before Tuesday next week, and I am pretty busy next week as well. So henceforth, please understand the delay. And due to that delay, I've also chosen to first add the yarn from that hobby haul to my December February summary, because it is first going to be posted in February. I hope I see something I like too, Megan, definitely. Susan says, this pattern is cool as it's a rectangle sewn into a shrug. I look forward to seeing it coming together. Exactly. So what I need to do, I basically just need to roughly have this idea. And actually, had I known it was this simple to make, I wouldn't say that I wouldn't have needed the pattern, because she does describe how you will have to crochet around it on some aspects and places. And I do like the inspiration of this and how this is gonna progress. But I like actually that if you do understand and read the pattern, and you don't like, how can I say that? Just give me a second. I like the fact that this pattern is simple enough for me to be able to adapt whatever yarn to the pattern. And this is definitely a light material because it's an acrylic yarn. And yeah, why did I choose the yarn? It based on the weight and length and so on, it kind of matched up, except that it does require a bit of a thicker needle. And I like the color. I think this is a gorgeous blue. This is not really showing its true color, but close. It's a really nice royal blue. And it's just mainly going to be back and forth, right? Doing this waffle stitch. And what I will have to do is I will have to keep working on this. And then I will have to be able to take this and fold around my upper arm where it's thickest. And with whatever extra positive ease I'll need to have a comfortable feel of the shrug. and it's still a bit shrug time. Also, I have the West, but this is me working a bit on those projects from the Sort My Stash sort of, the advent calendar, the Shop My Stash advent calendar. And this was the first of them. And therefore I decided to go with this one first rather than the alternative Drops Vest, which probably will be the next after this. I am still working on the cowl. And then we are to start definitely on the heart collector soon. Once we have gone through some yarns. We will have a talk and discussion about options in the yarn talk video, which will be Friday next week. So next week, I won't be able to be live at all the first week of February, because I will not be at home. I am away to an event, and therefore I am pre-planning some videos before I leave, so you guys still have something to watch while you craft. Robert says, I added my 4th skein to my corner to corner blankets, so we'll be decreasing at the end of this one. That always feels like it's so much quicker, even though it's the same amount of stitches as going up. Yeah, I understand that, and that's because you get to turn the rows quicker, right? So it's the decrease part, it definitely feels quicker, but it's technically it's not. It's a bit funny how things go like that. Susan says, cool, Rev, you seem to love making very large blankets. He likes to make blankets in general. He is a blanket creator. I would not have the patience to make that amount of blankets, I think. Or maybe it's just because when I do make blankets, I decide to make them complex. I don't know. Like mosaic blanket, complex. But yeah. But yeah, so I'm going to spend time definitely this week, and probably also this weekend, to get that computer set up and ready. Need to do some countings. I definitely need to pack some stuff and things for next week. My goodness, I have plenty of things to get settled and done. So I don't have the feeling I am going to be bored anytime soon. That said, this project, I feel is also going to be a good couch project, because, you know, once I've gotten this one started, which I have, it's just back and forth, quite a few stitches. And next to that, I need to keep going for quite a bit. So as long as I'm just making this square, that's going to be sewn together to shrug. It is just cracking on, isn't it? And it's reasonably mindless. Yeah, I really like how this edge is coming up with this stacked double crochet, stacked single to double. Rev says, I like my things to be useful and can always use a blanket. Well, most people can always use a blanket. I can use 10. That's because I'm like a cozy person, like to snuggle in. It's very much related to the Danish word of hygge, I think. You know, that's hyggeligt if you are under a blanket and warm cup of chocolate. It's snowy outside or something like that. That comes cozy. Cozy is probably the closest English word you get to hyggligt. But it's not completely the same. Susan says she makes lap blanket request about veterans in nursing homes in 36 by 36. I don't have anyone specifically requesting something in particular. It could be that I'm not in the right groups. But at the same time, yeah, I haven't really thought about it. What I am doing right now is obviously finishing up some of these hats. And I am likely going to make some sort of box or crate. And then I'm wondering if I need to keep them for next autumn. And then I'll bring them to one of the shelters we have, homeless shelters, or in any case, I will need to contact them to hear if they're even remotely interested in receiving things like that. And if not, then I will probably bring them with me to Denmark. But one of them is not too far away, the city center, where I sometimes would go to like pick up the lovely tea when I drink my loose tea blends and stuff. So I may actually just, once this other one is finished, end up calling them and say, hey, can I come and drop you 3 beanies? I think it stays indeed unworked. Yeah. The sleeve stays unworked, which is basically this edge. And this is foundation stitch on the stacked double you have there. And when I stretch it a little bit, you barely see the edge. So that is why I like the stacked foundation, or the stacked single crochet to create the double, instead of doing a chain 1 double crochet. It could also just be the way I crochet that I think it looks nicer like that. But yeah. So that's my current thought. But the benefit, of course, would be if I check if they would be interested in those. Before I go to Denmark next time, because if they're not, I'm probably just going to bring them with me to Denmark to donate there. Because that will clear out some space here at home, obviously. It's not much, but just a little. Nightbird has many good points. Memberships are now available, and memberships give you access to extra perks and will help support creating more content. Exactly, because life is expensive, such as I just invested in a computer to help stream better and also to probably ease my frustrations with other things that I'm using my computer for. Thank you so much, Revenant. Thank you. And reading all about it, we're so lucky to get a gifted membership. Susan says it's definitely the season to donate hats. It is. It is. So what we are going to see if we can do is, because I am still... That definitely has a different audio. My goodness. Oh my goodness. I almost blew my ears out on that one. I am just gonna see if I can get this one to share, because as I said, we are still Unfortunately, somewhat. So it is. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And welcome to our new members. Much appreciated. I have a feeling this is not sharing at all. No, it's not. Ah, we're trying again. That was better. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you so much. Audio might be missing. That hopefully should be fixed next week, if everything goes right. Meanwhile, I can like turn up my volume again for the music I have running in the background. Susan said it's definitely the season to donate hats. You can check churches and food banks for potential donation spots. Yeah. If I would do it, it needs to be easy for me to deliver. Because I'd rather not need to ship or send, and I don't have a car. I borrow a car and yeah. So I will definitely have to check. Churches is somewhat differently run, I think, here in Europe than they are in the States. I'm personally not connected to one myself. What they do very much want to is to have you donate cash to them rather than items. And the churches here in this region is mainly Catholic churches. But yeah, so then I'd rather call like a food pantry or homeless shelters and stuff like that, or maybe even refugee centers to hear to what extent people could use hats. There are also some foundations, apparently, but they are more in the northern part of the Netherlands, who collect winter clothing and stuff like that to send to Eastern Europe, where they have some really, really cold winters, to help some of the poor there keep warm. You are crazy. Are you doing anything but crocheting all day? Brian says, by the end of January, I should be at 16 skeins just for the month. So I would say that is a productive month, a very productive month. I felt my month is productive, and I definitely won't hit 16. I think I'm probably going to see if I can get that hat finished also as well this month, because that would just kind of like put one skein extra, and that would be the quickest probably to finish, unless we crank a lot out of this one. But I'm not sure if I can crochet that fast. You know, it's just around the corner, and if I'll reach to both, I'll be happy too. And I also, of course, have the small skein, but it's half a skein for the Simply Yet Effective cowl. So I do have some possibilities of finishing some more things. How many yards, Revenant, were there in those 16 skeins you're expecting to have used up by the end of the month? I have a nice little Excel sheet where I keep track. I write down the names of the yarns and the dates and the weights and everything. And then it automatically calculates into ounces and yards as well, which is really nice. And of course, these last 2 years, the consumption of total yarn is what I am then using to base my estimated consumption of the stash I currently have. Of course, it could be that I will use more yarn here this coming year, especially because, as I said, I am trying to have these projects I can bring with me to the couch. It might not be lots, but I am watching series with my partner, and when I am doing so, if maybe that I can choose one less, or like have more projects to help use more. That would be the right word here. That would be the solution here. That was one more. So that was the first full row. So I kind of hope it helps me use more yarn to always have some sort of small projects. And I'm probably it's probably gonna be a bunch of knit hats also for over the summer. As I said, we do still have some of this ice yarns that I'm double stranding, and I'm not knitting super fast either. And I'm also likely to have more projects which I will be able to bring to couch. For example, this one is perfect on the couch as well, at least as long as I'm just working some thickness here. It needs to be like a solid, probably like 40 centimeters. So it's like plus 11, 13, 14, 15 inches high. It's a good guess. For it to be comfortable on me. Okay, so we are at a place where we are to turn our work, and we are gonna stack 2 singles to make the double, and then we also make a double in the next stitch. Then it's 2 front posts double, 2 front posts double, etc. Yep. A good chunk of those skeins are smaller, though. The last bunch have all been 500 plus yards. 10 of them were 244 yards, 2 were 300 plus. So I'm looking at neighborhood of about 5,000 yards used for the month. That's crazy. Well, of course, valid to say you do use a bit thicker yarns than I do on average, but I also have the feeling you may have more time to craft than I do. It is, I have things next to crafting, obviously. I still have a job I need to take care of. Because else I won't be able to keep paying my bills. Working on it, but need to be realistic. So this is the wrong side, and this is going to be the right side. So it is slightly, of course, if you want to see the yarn and stitch definition a bit better, I can move up here. But it's not that close. I think it's, or you need to accept the fact that I have funky hands. That's better for the stitch definition. You just need to accept I have very light hands. But we are definitely slowly developing waffle stitches, waffle patterns. I almost feel like having a waffle now. Wait, I forgot 3 just Umbro, so at 1,800 yards, so nearly 7,000. Still, that's crazy, mate. You are productive. Thicker yarns do work up quicker, though, as well. That is a thing that's worth to keep in mind. And yeah, it's not a race. No, it's not. I'm just a very competitive person. I did have a good weekend, though. I did enjoy myself. So that's positive. this is an activity that is supposed to be fun and relaxing. I just have more time to work on things. So, no jobs. Are you retired or just curious? Like, if you don't want to share, it's fine. And yeah, Susan, Rev is pretty awesome in his progress of things. But most importantly, as long as we enjoy what we do and we have fun, that is, and we feel productive and people get happy with what they receive, things like that, right? Rev is retired. Yeah, okay. That does give some room, depending, of course, on all other sort of hobbies you may or may not have. My yarn is twisting around the yarn spindle, so I'm just saving my yarn, so to say. Sometimes I'm looking forward for retirement, but retirement is not necessarily always a positive thing, I guess. You know, it means you're getting older. As long as you had a good life, then that's right. But a part of me don't really want to get old. Mainly because, you know, I think there's a lot of fun things that's easier to do when younger and fit. So it's more like I don't want my body to get old. But that is probably what everybody could struggle a bit with. Like, we would like to keep the vitality of our youth. And reality is that is not going to happen. Got a rather large inheritance and invested it for long-term return, so I'm drawing a salary from that passively. Yeah, okay. So I am partially, I need to look into my next, by the way, investments. I am investing a part of my salary that I receive paid out to do a similar thing. A reason for the choice of doing so is point one. If I put it all into my pension, I can't use it before I will retire. So it's kind of stuck. And I've had a period in my life of very low income due to my sport. It was definitely not a sport you could earn money with. And henceforth, I optioned to kind of say this is my own pension, but it's pension that I have accessible. Instead of an investment account, invested in stocks and bonds, etc. I have some trackers and or investment funds, and they are doing pretty okay for what is given currently. And I do that normally monthly, except for when I was unemployed. I didn't. Then it was just running around. But if I would get unemployed again, they should just about be able to cover my need for food. So I will have a safety net should my contract not be extended by the end of this year. But right now, I don't see why it shouldn't be, but I don't know. I do feel the company is a company that like to keep their employees as long as possible, as long as they do a good job. That's why my feeling is that they are likely to extend it. Also, through my company, they do pay a little amount into an official pension fund, for which you can buy extra pension next to the normal standard pension you will receive from just being retired, like the government standard payout, which is like very low and little. It looks so airy from here, but I think it's just some points. It's not that bad. But it just helps once it gets, once we get a bit further along. Because I'm really not in the mood to frag this one. Worst thing that can happen is that I'd like to redo it, but based on the amount of yarns I've used so far and the amount of yarns I have available, I probably could even do that. Or this yarn is able to be obtained at a very, very reasonable price, so that could be another option too. I am, though, very happy that I kept this yarn in my stash because I think it is so freaking gorgeous blue. I could imagine you could also easily make this one in merino, so not necessarily this is an acrylic. Ryan says, I consider myself extremely fortunate to have a safety net like this and the ability to do what I want to do. It's the only reason I try to spread it around a bit, donate to charities, gift memberships, etc. It is very kind of you, for sure. I can't definitely not survive on my cash. My cash is also a safety net for as if I go unemployed right now, so I can survive a fair time without a job. And it does allow me to be a bit more picky about potential jobs, what I would pick or take or apply to. But at some stage, I will likely be forced to take something, unless, of course, I use that time cleverly. The old job I had before the current job, so from 2000, like September 2021 until when I lost my job in the autumn 2024, in October to be more exact. I during that period is also when I started my YouTube channel and doing more and more crafts because I have time to sit, and I'd like to help other people in their crafts and be social. But it was also seen as an alternate way to maybe in the future have some more security and self-influence on what I would be doing. And I could definitely put much more effort into it. I don't have the time for it, but the foundation is made. So should things change, then it's an avenue I definitely can pursue. What I do want to do, hopefully this year, is to create and design a pattern and get that written down. The benefit of digital goods, such also as patterns. That was the wrong stitch, Tina. Is that we are not stuck on the shipping of things. And I have the possibility to easily distribute that. Susan says the waffle stitch is quite dense, bordering on bulky. That's true. It is a denser stitch. So I'm pretty happy I'm not using a thicker yarn. Because that would have definitely turned it out a bit different. But yeah, so that is mainly what we are doing here. It's just back and forth. Easy. Waffle stitch. It is the first time I am working in the waffle stitch. I did, as I said, I did a small, probably like 30 stitches by 7 rows maybe, to kind of see how it worked out. Rowan says you need to do a waffle stitch project at some point. I think it would also be fine for a blanket, honestly. But in that sense, then I would choose probably a blanket with more solid colors. You could still maybe stripe it, but I wouldn't do rapid changing. But I've definitely seen blankets, like baby blankets and stuff, in waffle stitch, and then border it with some other stitch. That could probably be very nice. And it gives some structure. I think if it's a very busy yarn, the waffle stitch is not going to have the same effect. Showcasing. We are getting closer to the end of this row, which is awesome. Right, it says, yeah, I would not use variegated for the waffle stitch. Yeah, I don't think that would be nice to the yarn in sense of it wouldn't bring the yarn's potential to its true potential. Susan says there's a flannel blanket pattern from Mary Maxim that I made, uses waffle and other stitches with red heart. Super safe for ombre. I'll go look up the pattern. That could be an option because it's a blanket pattern. Revenant likes doing blankets. Why not? I feel confident Revenant can do other stuff than double crochet blankets in shape of granny squares or corner to corner. Who knows? I end up designing like something in the waffle stitch, because I feel this could actually also make a nice sweater, like a thicker sweater. And I do want to start designing stuffs. Ring ring, I may need pattern testers depending on what I choose. But it's probably not going to be in the coming month. There's a few things I'd really like to get done first before jumping into the design aspect of things. But it's definitely on my mind. And we've talked about it a few times, and I have done in the past, right? So I just need to see. I do believe I need to finish. Yeah, I do need to finish with 2 double crochets. Ta-ta. Time to turn the wag around. The pattern I made is called Rosy Red's Throw from Mary Maxim Kit. Can you get those patterns without having to buy the yarn? Like, can you just buy the pattern from a kit, or do you need to buy the kit? If you understand what I mean. Like, a good example is the Fleur. It's also able to be purchased as a kit in a Dutch web store. But they also sell the pattern loosely as well as the designer sells the pattern on Ravelry. Rana says, right now I'm just focusing on finishing this one up. Then I can figure out for my next project. I might try you on the Yarn Addicts Autumn Aspirations pattern. It has been on my list for a while. I am impressed with people that reaches and does a lot. I believe it was Ange who designed Fleur, who made this list on how much yarn she had used in 2025. And I was like, holy crap. Because she has also been traveling, I know. What is it called? Is it a page or is it a group? I don't remember right now, but she made this list on how much she used, and that was like a crazy amount. It's like 130,000 or something like that. And I'm like, yikes. But of course, that's what it takes, especially if you design. But then I kind of know how long time I spent making Fleur and how much that went into that. So I'm like, that is like lots of yarns and blankets. It astonishes me. But of course, they have, if you need to survive and make a living on your craft, you do need to craft a lot, don't you? So yeah, this is my current project, and the next will be the vest in the Hobby Amigo yarns. I think because we finished up the Daisy Days bag. I don't know if anyone reached to see that one before I put it away. I'm just shortly gonna show for those that weren't around. So now you can actually really see the waffle stitch popping up here, right? Waffly waffle. Because I finished this one this weekend. That's a button sewn together. And I reached to do one more double crochet row and single crochet row before sewing it together without having to frock it. There was just enough yarn to also sew them together. And here would be the sewn together joint. You can't see it, but it's sturdy. And yep. The only thing that bothers me a little is the edges here of the granny stitches. It's not wanting to stretch out completely, but it's still nice. Haven't decided what I'm gonna do with this one yet. no indecisions. I think the latest version of this pattern was made into a kit with Butt's tonal hues. Possible. That's also a gorgeous yarn, but again, we are back to me being able to obtain that yarn is like very tiny. Of course, the positive thing is that Mr. Taco indeed did veer out again and ended up not imposing those tariffs. Which is a good thing, because I think this time the EU had said, okay, if you do that, we will throw tariffs back on you. So still, I just would be stuck with my normal import on goods from outside of Europe, which is still expensive. Don't get me wrong. Shipping isn't cheap either. It's hard to get the level she's at, but past unit Kelsey gets to triple dip. She has a YouTube channel that is monetized, which takes sponsorships for and has memberships. She documents making items and then she sells it in her shop. She's doing extremely well. I do enjoy watching her videos, in your fault most of the time. So in that sense, she's quite an inspiration. And definitely she has understood to monetize all aspects of her business. So that is one clever young lady that has taken that to the next level. Most definitely. I think to some extent it's also a hype thing to have gotten something. And some people also know the time it takes to craft these items is not close to what she charges for them. I do not want to calculate the hourly tariff basically pure alone on the project she makes and sells. But it's about she has to be happy with what she is doing. She knew when to transition from TikTok to YouTube to maximize her fan base onto a higher paying platform. Definitely. I admit that I'm definitely anything but a TikToker. I do have a TikTok account. But also it is a cross-post platform in sense of that the same content that I would use for YouTube Shorts would also end up there as that, or for Reels on Instagram, because I also have an Instagram account. I have, though, been extremely poor at photographing my finished objects to display them on Instagram. Yeah, I need to get better at that. So now, to some extent, I think there is just a desire, because I wonder how many of her purchasers, buyers actually come from other sources than her social media. And people watching on social media are more likely to do so because they craft themselves. Yeah, this is starting to work up nicely, isn't it? I believe her followers were fairly young. I think it's a combination mix, to be honest. I'm sure she has a bunch of younger followers, but I think it's not just young followers, because the fact that us in this room know about her tells me that she also aspired to a bit older generation on some aspects. But of course, the younger you are, the easier it is to appeal to a younger audience. Yeah, customers could definitely be young, but there could also be people who craft themselves and want to give their friends or family gifts. It doesn't necessarily always need to be their own gifts, right? But to do a fully vlog style format on my daily life, I'm not sure it would be gathering enough content, because I don't think my life is that interesting. If I should have done something along these lines, I should have done it way earlier. And I should have done that when I was still an athlete. And then I would have taken a completely different approach on social media than what I did at that given time. I feel in hindsight that would have been really, really nice. But yeah, I didn't. I have me optioned not to be that much in spotlight, because I think it's easier to perform if you're not necessarily distracted by um, needing to perform on social media as well. She has a fairly wide range of fans as far as age range go. Exactly. If her live streams are an indication, you get people in the recent range and a bunch of kids in the middle school and everything in between. Definitely. Susan says, I believe people who craft the items she sells are not her customers. Who would who would any of us buy her makes me know, as I would never never as I can make them myself. So that's the thing. Yes, while you can make them yourself, let's assume that you are still on the working market, and you may know how much time certain things take, and you'd rather value your time than than crafting themselves, so to say, to give as a gift. That could also be an option, right? So there are a few different takes on this. Ravenette says she could probably double the price and her items and still sell out, but she seems happy with what she charges. And that's the point. If you're happy with what you charge and that you don't suffer a loss, do it. Rowan says she has made some things I have no desire to make, and I have even been thinking about getting them. Yeah, that's also a possibility, right? There are things that, like, I'm not sure if I'll ever get around knitting socks. And maybe I will one day. But if I don't, and I wouldn't have my mom or my mom's younger sister, because she also makes socks, to make me some handmade, old-fashioned handmade socks, I'm not sure. Like, I would like to buy them. But also, like, there's a community out there right now where there are people buying handmade socks, hand knit socks, both in Denmark and for that matter also in the Netherlands, because people know how long it takes to make hand knit socks, and they want the hand knit socks. And if they are able to make them themselves, either they don't have the time to do so or the desire to do so. So as long as the price is what you think is a reasonable price, there are definitely always people who can craft themselves that would be open and willing to buy. I could imagine, Susan, due to being able to craft them yourself, you are probably more the segment of the patterns purchasers should you want to craft the project she makes, which she has designed the pattern for. You're more likely to buy the pattern, which is a single one-time transaction of a smaller amount, but to which you now then have the pattern. There's a Danish knit society that is currently arguing that if you sell your knit makes, then you need to buy a pattern for every knit you make, because that would be most fair to the designer. And there is something to get something from a creator that you watch, Revan, and say the celebrity factor does come in here, especially for her hairbands. I definitely agree. There is definitely a celebrity factor to some extent as well. Her scarcity marketing is brilliant, though, probably due to time restrictions and her seemingly fun and carefree lifestyle. Yes, she definitely does have a lot fewer worries than the average person, doesn't she? Yet, I also think that due to the fact that she does suffer from epilepsy, she may have different challenges in life, right? I think, which kind of maybe over time has put her in a situation where it is easier to be self-employed with your own business. And in this case, it's something she enjoys, right? So it's her way of not having to fight the reality of the job market. And you could put me slightly that boat too, except for the fact that I do have a job, but I wouldn't have just any job. In this case, of the job I currently have is a job that's definitely carefully chosen based on what they offered and what I knew I can do, and the freedom it gives me, because my current job is extremely flexible. And that is what I value in my job. And of course, they do pay decently for the type of work that I do. But a part of that salary is also to help cover something called a language skill, because I work with the Danish language, but I am not in Denmark, and therefore I am a bit of more scarce employee. Given her views and the length of her videos plus her upload schedule, she's likely bringing in 5 figures a month just from AdSense. I could give an assessment if you wanted me to. Of course, without being 100% sure, but like I could do a rough comparison.
Because she's definitely not hoovering the cash from. She does probably have some paid partnerships. I think she makes probably more money on her memberships than on the views, but without being sure. Let's just for funsies say, what would an average video, or should we just take it for the first couple of days? Because obviously I am monetized myself, but trust me, if I am going to go live purely based on making money, I should find something else to do, or I need to get a crap ton more viewers slash subscribers. Live is not necessarily where you make the most. Let's see here. Her latest she posted yesterday is at 29,500 views. Let's just say 30,000 views in a day. On that video, on that one posted video. And let's see, to compare, I need a calculator. So let's say that's 30,000 roughly. I think a video of hers after a day makes, purely based on views alone, AdSense, depending on location, an estimate would be like the video she posted Monday, $175 to $225 for one day. It's a good estimate, just purely on the watches. And yeah, it's pre-tax, so it's brutto, so to say, and I have not included memberships in this. This is purely a watched video, no memberships. Let's assume she didn't have any. So yes, she makes a decent living, but she also mentioned when she bought her house last year that was partially due to YouTube. She was able to do so, right? So she has definitely understood how to use the social media to her advantage in the niche that she's working at. And that is impressive. I don't think people should be jealous. And I don't think necessarily it is a thing that's easy to copy either. Like, I wouldn't want to keep recording my whole daily life constantly, where I don't mind doing the summaries. I don't mind doing these. I don't mind sharing when I'm sorting my stash and stuff like that. I don't mind doing tutorials, but I'm really not sure if I would do a 24/7 blocking of my life. And maybe I feel it would have been far more interesting back when I was an athlete if I would have done something like that. Now I just need to see if that is the stacked. I think we had a mailman coming. It sounded really funky. I think I saw somebody moving. But it sort of shocked me a little bit. That's cool. Yay, we made it to the end of this row. Yeah. Cool. She has definitely put a lot of work in to get there. I'd estimate she might make more, but that's a good solid estimate. Yep. They are like living the online life, so to say. But I would imagine she brings in a large portion of the income. I imagine that too. I think she's the breadwinner in that relationship. That said, he's the car driver, right? Like, she's not allowed to drive because of the epilepsy. And I have a friend in Germany who also has epilepsy, and he's like, you know, you're prohibited to drive. Basically, you're not allowed to drive. So he's not even able to get a driver's license. Now you can see how the stitch is coming really along. Ooh. But as you can see, this is going to get around my arm. We have a fair amount of rows to go. I did not cake up any more skeins yet, but I probably would have to do this weekend, or maybe before then. That would probably be a clever choice. Tomorrow, maybe, so I have for the weekend. Susan says, I just hope she manages her finance appropriately. That is my impression she does, without knowing, because else you can't just buy a house. Even though whether that is with a mortgage or not. And that is also why I think she's scaling the business to merchandise. And what I really like about her merchandise actually is that it is very relatable and it's not super personally branded. It's also a bit more generic. So it applies to a broader market. They seem like a good pairing. They appear to enjoy each other company, and that's the key to a good long-term relationship. Very true. They also recently got engaged to marriage. Probably engaged. I haven't heard of a marriage or seen the ring, but who knows? But yeah, they are definitely a good duo in many aspects. Ah, maybe I missed that one. I do know that they went to Mexico, but I did not know of that possibility. Regardless, I hope the best for them, because why wouldn't I? That goes for everything in life. I just hope for people's best well-being. You know, I think the majority of people here on Earth, and I really mean majority, 99% of us, just want to live in peace and harmony, do our own thing, be happy, not be short of anything, not necessarily super rich, but just have enough to be comfortable. Where this last few percent are so greedy for power and war and obtaining of land mass and whatnot, that they kind of destroy the world for everybody else. Wait a second here. Yeah, I do need to do front posts. I had apparently almost forgotten where I were. That's a challenge, of course, doing all this in one color. And it's not the lightest of colors to work with. It is a nice blue, but it's a bit of a darker blue. The waffle is starting really to nice and show. Makes me happy. And I think I belong to that 99% group. I'm just happy to be who I am. I just want to live comfortable, enjoy life, still want to see the world, definitely, because there's lots of things I haven't seen yet. But I think there is also a limit to the amount of I don't think I would genuinely be willing to 100% video blog every step of my day. I don't think so. It's similar, right? Revenant says, I just want everybody to be happy living the life they choose and not hurting anyone else. It's yeah, we just all need to be content, have enough to be comfortable, be happy, not hurt others, and hurt, like a lot of this hurt often comes from greed, right? I read an article regarding this statements of Trump saying that he needed Greenland for national security. But apparently this national security is not necessarily translated as a war aspect, because a lot of us understand national security as war-related, or like there's a threat on our property or livelihoods in the sense of something that could be terror or war or negative, right? But apparently this national security relates to the minerals that's in the ground of Greenland, because there's a lot of rare minerals there, which they are right now getting from countries like China, or even Russia to some extent. So some of these minerals are in the very depth of the bottom of below Greenland. And some of them are even more accessible to mine than they were, let's say, 20 years ago, due to the fact that the North Pole and the ice sheet is melting. So it is not a security risk war-based, even though it's made sound like it. It's actually because they want to have direct access to easier mine these resources and be less dependent on, let's say, China. And that could actually be true. Like it did make sense to me to some extent, reading it like that. It could also very well be a combination. Did you guys survive the winter, by the way? Because I heard you this past weekend had a really nasty snow across most of the US. Like everything and everywhere but Florida, I think, was like freezing. Remnant says Trump is a continentalist, which is a worldview that was discarded after the World Wars, which is probably why he's so disastrous for long-term US prosperity. Oh, probably. I think there is definitely, I saw another post the other day, which is like the next US president will spend the next 4 years, his 4-year term, to apologize to everyone else, something like that. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's probably even also true. Yeah. I wonder how many of the voters who did vote for Trump would today know what they know now, have placed their vote differently. Vaca got lucky and all we got was sleet. It was cold, but luckily there was no ice built up on the trees, roofs, or power lines. That's nice. That is definitely nice. Here it's just been chilly cold, but not like so cold. We did have some threats of rainy ice, so to say, and it was slippery in some places. But we did definitely not have like massive snows. Our street is still iced over because Texas never prepares for anything. Yeah, they're used to it being warm, right? But it's supposed to be well above freezing today, so it should sort itself out. Sounds like it. Mostly that happens, right? It takes like a day or two, depending on how much above that would be. I think here it's like somewhere between 5 and 7 degrees, but I'm not sure. Yesterday it was actually colder than I thought when I was going to the club. It is definitely colder than I thought. Weather for Nijmegen, which is currently cloudy with a temperature of 35 degrees Fahrenheit, about 2 degrees Celsius. The wind is blowing from north-northeast at 8 miles per hour, and the current humidity is 9 to 5. It's not raining, but it's definitely cloudy, and I could imagine it being moist. In Vaco, the conditions are sunny with a temperature of 30 degrees Fahrenheit, so that's negative 1 degree Celsius. The wind is blowing from west-northwest at 4 miles per hour, and the current humidity is 85. So it's sort of similar, actually. Good morning, Lisa. Did you get home or are you still in sunny Mexico? So the sad thing about this project, obviously, is it's just going to be this blue all the way. So it's kind of boring. But look at this freaking pattern. It's kind of really starting to pop on this side, right? Waffly waffle. She has moved closer to the beach. Oh, that lounge sounds nice. The weather for Puerto Escondido is it's fair with a temperature of 77 degrees Fahrenheit, or about 25 degrees Celsius. The wind is blowing from east-northeast at 7 miles per hour. Current humidity is 72. That sounds like a lot better weather than here. I will happily trade you for the warmth. Lisa is traveling home tomorrow. Are you going to be... So you're going to be home for like 1 to 2 weeks before off to Spain? But one would say Lisa definitely timed her absence from those winter storms that hit this weekend, because that's really been cold across the US. It's supposed to get up to around 10 degrees Celsius today. Oh, that's nice. Yeah, it's still early at your place. Meanwhile, it is 3:45 here in the Netherlands, and that is PM. It is a gray day, though. And Lisa, I finished the bag. You just joined, so you haven't seen it yet. So I could just quickly find it. Plus, I also received my new laptop. Not on it yet because it arrived today, like an hour and a half before the stream. And it was really cold, so I wanted it to heat up because of the transportation. It's been on the way from Denmark. And I really want to let it heat up before I kind of start on everything. But here, look, I finished the tote. And I managed to do 1 extra row as when I finished the last live. Technically 2 rows, because I count 1 row as one of double crochet and then the reverse of single crochet. And I reached to do that. So we finished that one. Next week's Yarn Talk video, we will put that one up as well. I will probably put something in it so you can really see how that looks. And I'm not really sure what I'm doing with it. If I will give it away to somebody here in the Netherlands, or if I'll sell it, or if I may give it away to a watcher. Like we could hold a little giveaway at some stage. Because I can send gifts now to the US, so I should be able to do that. As long as you didn't pay for it, then I should be fine, because then I can mark it as a gift. 2 weeks before going to Spain. Yay! The weather for New Jersey in the United States is, in my perspective, chilly. It's sunny with 70 degrees Fahrenheit and it is -8 degrees Celsius. Wind is blowing from west-northwest at 11 miles per hour, and the humidity is 52. I like the sunny part. Even though it's cold, sunny kind of makes it better because it just feels warmer when you can see the sun. That's my impression. And Lisa finished the first hexie for her Leon hexie cardi. Sweet. Yeah, that is a nice project too, which I'd love to do. But we have another big project first, and that is definitely something I'll classify as big projects. So my goal this year is to finish all the projects that I listed and mentioned and talked about during the Shop My Stash and Advent Calendar. And then oh, not what I'm going to do. I need to focus. And then next to that, once those projects are done, that's about half a year. Then it's time to do what I get inspired by doing, and maybe to wrap out that designer feeling I have laying around. I should get going on. I do have a few things laying in my mental notebook to attempt to do. Also, I do actually have bad news. Bad news in the sense of a project I wanted to make, because there was this awesome t-shirt I wanted to knit. But the company who sells the yarn has gone bankrupt. Literally bankrupt. And they're selling everything out now, unless there is somebody that comes and purchases it. And well, definitely I can't do that. There's lots of issues with people getting their yarns. I don't even know if there would be enough left on that stock for me to even obtain the yarns, and how and whatnot. So I think I have to just accept that pattern will likely go to be let fly, so to say. And I will have to find a different knit pattern that at some stage I'd love to attempt doing, because it seems too risky, especially if I'll get the yarn and I don't have enough yarn. How will I be able to get more? Even though I know it's just a question of buying a couple of extra balls. But I've tried once before being like, okay, I just need to buy 1 or 2 extra skeins and I'll be fine. And I still just about weren't fine, or it was too tight. So it was a lot less row than I thought it was going to be. I ended up only doing 29 rows. That is definitely not much. But given that I think you're making it for yourself, and I know that you're not a woman of the longest stature, so maybe it's also a bit size-wise. It is, I agree with Susan here. The Leon Hector cardigan is beautiful in such complex, lacy-looking stitches, botanical vibes. It's definitely on my I'd like to do list. And there is a few other shawls that I definitely like to do. And I'd actually also would love to probably at some stage design some. Tell who. I have a few ideas, but I have generally many ideas. And things just tend to take much longer than I anticipate. Lisa says, I'm vertically challenged. Someone taller would need more rows. There are blocking sew and etching to yet be done. Yeah. I'm actually reasonably short-bodied myself compared to some. Lately, the later couple of years, I've also gotten a bit wider, a lot wider. There is some things to be said for that as well. My challenge right now is I don't feel that the fitness as such is booking that much progress. So I'm trying to figure out if I think it's actually is worth the investment or if I can make just as much progress by not going and do other things as a replacement for that. And here I wouldn't be talking crafting because I still need to be moving. I do feel after I inherited an electrical bike this summer that I used the bike more than I did before then. So there's that to be said. There we go, one more row. Yeah, because it's just this long piece, back and forth. You know, this could be a blanket if I just did enough. And I don't think I would want to do that. I like knowing when the end comes. If that makes any remote sense. And the blanket feels so endless. I'm so impressed that Revenant can actually do blankets, that many. I would have been bored by now. And I think I've had blankets for the next at least year or two after Fleur. I think we are doing the 2 doubles front post, 2 doubles front post, etc. I believe Yisa used the millends she got from Hirschness, if I'm not wrong. I think this is still a quite nice etching. Don't you? I'm pleased. That, my friends, is instead of doing the chain 1 double crochet, I'm doing 2 stacked single crochets to get the height of the double. Doo-doo. It does feel that it works up reasonably quick. It is somewhat stretchy, but one wouldn't want to stretch it too much, obviously, but it is somewhat stretchy. I do apologize for my yawning. Apparently, I should have gotten earlier to bed, which I kind of knew. I was way too late up last night. yeah, isn't this looking nice? Yep, it's gonna be nice, super nice. A good value acrylic this is, and it's soft, by the way. It's a rather soft acrylic. So it has a nice soft feeling, even though it's acrylic, and it doesn't scratch in the sense of or make this acrylic noise that you sometimes experience acrylic yarns can do. I can't express the sound, but I don't feel it does it that much. So it is, I would say it's a really good quality for a value acrylic. And I still have 6 more skeins. And I definitely don't need 6 more skeins to finish this one. I'm not sure if I can do it in 3, but 4 is definitely realistic. But I don't know, it's just me, again, guessing. Lisa's using 2 Hirschner's Middle End cakes. They were actually Salsa Deluxe cakes in the colorway Imperial Purple. For those in doubt, it is 129 stitches across here with a 5mm hook. I could have done it on fewer stitches, but I chose more because I wanted a little bit longer sleeves. And given the fact that I did have extra yarn, I thought that should definitely be doable. So henceforth is what we are doing. Oh. I don't know how far I'll be compared to Friday, but on Friday we'll definitely proceed on this one. No, wait. I almost put a knot on my yarn. Oh, there we are. My goodness. Lisa says she did recake them so that she could start with the outside pull and start with the yellow as an outside pull. How did that look actually? Like, how did the cake look when the colors were opposite? Still as gorgeous or less? Like, are we more attracted to buy them because of how the colors are caked up? I'm curious what you thought. Were they equally attractive caked up or like opposite, so to say? If you understand what I mean. Because I think that would be a fun thing to know. If we humans are like, how likely are we to buy something based on the look? Don't forget to hydrate. Hydration is important. For Christmas, I actually wished for a weight scale, a clever weight scale that would tell me fat percentage and muscle mass and protein and water percentage and stuff like that. And of course, it's not 100% accurate, but they do have some accuracy. And that tells me that I'm actually hydrating way too little. That I have too little moisture liquids in my body. So I'm not good enough with drinking. Fun fact. And I think that counts for most of us. But at the same time, I guess I don't feel super thirsty. But I need to be better at drinking more regularly. Lisa sent some photos, so I will have to find and log in on my email. So if you give me just a minute. Da, da, da. Here we are. So we are gonna share, attempt to at least, over here. We have the original. No, that's the recaped version, I think, because it's dark on the outside, if I remember right. Yeah, here, that's better. I think it doesn't matter in this case, and I'm almost inclined to say the recaped version almost looks better. I feel more drawn into it because it's darker in the center. But I do believe I have one of these in my stash also, if I'm not completely wrong. I feel comfortable I have, but from the original Cut King Sultan Deluxe. But we're going through my stash, right, this year. So if I have one, we'll definitely know. I really like the difference here. Like, I genuinely like the recake version, which is the top one, if I remember right. Actually like that one better. Or maybe you just caked it up much better than they did. And here we would see the lovely, lovely, lovely piece. It's gorgeous. I'm looking forward really to see once you've completed this. I think it was definitely the right choice to start with the yellow center. I think that was a good choice. It looks good. Yeah, the top one is recaked. Just jumping back for you guys to easier see this. The top one was the recaked one. And I feel the top one looks better than the bottom one. Like if you put these two out on the store and you could only pick one, I'm more inclined to buy the top one because somehow it looks nicer. And I don't know why. It draws me more in. What are you? Are you the original cake version or are you the recaked version? Not necessarily due to the brilliant work Lisa did with the recaking, but how do you like the color transition that it shows better? Which do you prefer? If I can zoom in, I can definitely try to. Yeah, somewhat. If that helps. It is a nice pattern. Lisa is doing a great job as always. As always, a great, great effort. Gorgeous. It's definitely beautiful autumn leaves feeling. Yep, it is. It's calling for me to get started on it at some stage. But I am going to finish the heart collectors first, because that is the goal for this year. That's a big project listed. It's the heart collectors. I'm not 100% decided. So, Lisa, on Monday, the plan is for a yarn haul video displaying those solid colors that should be in that. We are going through all of my Twister Solids, Friends Wheel, and Yarn Art Unicolors on the next sorting video, which should be up Wednesday. And then the plan is that we are going to look at them again in Friday's Yarn Talk video and try to make a decision based on that. I may end up posting a poll, but I'm not so sure if that makes sense because I'm probably being somewhat decided in my mind. But I have a feeling talking about it during a Yarn Talk video will help me manifest or finalize that decision, so to say. I think there are two options. So Susan says, I kind of like the idea of it being a cardigan. I don't really know of anyone who wears cotton or thin triangle shawls. I do from time to time. I should have been better at doing it, but I tend to often just wear the same. So like I can bring it to help cover or something like that, but it's more like a spring or summer thing I do. In the winter, I would need something warmer. I usually end up with a poncho because it covers more. There we go. By the way, almost done with this row. Definitely be able to do one more row. Again, this part of this project, which is nice, is I don't need to be worried about when I stop or anything, because it's so like when you have done the first 3 rows, which is basically the foundation, and then the first repeat before you start on the repeats. So the first ever part of the pattern. The repeats are so simple because the foundation is already there. You don't need to think, you can just do. I like that. I think you could probably turn this one into a poncho too. I have ideas now. That's not good. I have new ideas. So what I genuinely need to do is probably, I should start writing all these ideas down. I'm just pulling it a bit. This, my friends, would be the other edge, which one is reasonably nicely aligned. The toe. I do feel, due to how the stitches are, if you just give them a little good tug, they are a little bit more showing the nice pattern. That's just to make sure the yarn is actually pointed out. So, ta-ta. But we still have quite some distance to go. How many rows, Susan? I don't know. It will be so ever many rows. I need to be able to, you can't even see that on the screen. So, oh my, sorry. However many rows it takes to circumfuse my big arm. And then probably one more row or two to get some easy, oh, what's it called? To get some positive ease. That was the word I was looking for. That was my quick assumption. So I do unfortunately have quite a bit of an arm. Always had. It's definitely not gotten smaller. And I think so. But let's just for funsies measure. No, 30 inches is way too much. Probably more like 20. 30 is me not being able to do inches math. But yeah, I did say 30, and that's definitely going to be a lot less than 30 because that's going to be really wide. Ta-ta. So I probably need minimum 70. So it's probably going to be somewhere between 18, 19. That's a good guess. So 20, saying close to 20 was not too far off. But let's just say that's a bit more than 40, but right now we are at bit 2 1/4 inch. 2 1/4. So we have about 8 times the length to go, approximately. Which means that I'm not going to finish this one this week. Me being very realistic. We flip the work around and we do a single crochet and we stack it with another single crochet. Regular double, and then it's 2 front post, double, 2 front post, double, all the way to the end of this row. So what I probably will do is I'll continue until it's about 18, because 17 will be like at the tidy spot, like it would be. Well, I may test already at 17, because what I have to do is I'll have to place it around my arm and compare it to how it would, like, will it reach? And then I need to sew it together. But also it's a question is how loose do I want it to sit on my arms? So easy is to say, if you want to make a piece like this for yourself, as a starting point, you need to know how long it is. So I did like this, and I did a measurement to approximately where my arms I wanted to go. And it's really an approximate because it's really a difficult place to measure. And then the height is the minimum circumference you need to get around your arms. And the amount of positive ease you need depends on how tight you want it to sit. Approximately 7 rows total. No, definitely more than that. Because here I've done, if we don't consider the foundation row I did, if we know that, then it's 2, 4, 6 rows I'm currently at, right? 2, 4, 6, sort of. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 rows. I'll probably need 6 by 8. That's like what? 64 rows? No. 48. 48 more rows. Or in total, approximately. So somewhere between 48 and 50 rows is a good estimate. So I still have plenty of rows to go before I need to worry. And then it needs to be sewn together. So basically you can't even see that, obviously. Ta-ta. Then you fold them together and sew them. So this is kind of where you put your arm through, and you can see my arm won't fit in through there. There is nothing more done to this, and then there will be around the edge and the corners and the front and so on, there will be crocheted more. But yeah, that's a short gist of it. The Charlettes I make for nursing homes request a closure so they don't fall off the shoulders. Ah, yeah, that makes good sense. Because else the nurses can go and pick up the shawls on the floors all the time, right? Or shawlettes. Lisa says, I don't have it anymore, but I made a shawl and sewed a button on for a closure for someone. That's definitely also an option. Or you need like shawl pins of some kind. But yeah, so in this case, we are far from done. But I knew that. I knew this was going to be taking a bit, and that's fine. Of course, it will go quicker if that's the only project I will work on. But as I said, I really want to finish that hat in January that I'm still working on before casting on a new hat. But this technically is a project that I could work on the couch as well. So maybe I'll do that. Undecided. I got a ton of buttons at the thrift store. Nice. Yeah, sometimes you can really get lucky there, right? I think my mom also has a ton of buttons, and some of them were inherited from my grandmother, maybe even mothers. And she also had a bunch of her own. That's also a bit of a treasury box to jump into that one. Oh, you can really see it. Obviously, the top part here isn't completely gotten the stitches out, but look, the waffle stitches are looking fabulous. And I definitely need a new cake done before the weekend if I want to work on this weekend. No, that was wrong, Stine. It wasn't a front post, it was a regular double crochet or back post. I did a back post. There are no back posts in this. But I really have the idea that this waffle stitch somehow could be turned into a poncho. Thoughts? Would that be awesome? Yay, nay? Revenant says sounds good to me. So Ref is keen on trying. What definitely needs obviously solid colors because that's what I'm working in here. I think it should be doable. This again is lighter weight acrylic, so to use a heavier one, I would probably need to do some math. But I definitely have an idea of how this could be done. Punches are another rarely worn item by people around here. Apparently, it's very worn by me, but that's because I'm this coldy person. I'm always freezing in the winter, so I think punches are amazing for when I'm at home. I'm not really wearing it much outside my home. That is a fact. Um, Maybe that is what I should start to do. Write ideas down for my future me. 1 year from now, pattern out finally. Done. Note made. I won't forget. I don't think so either. I think it would be rather easy, actually. Except it's not going to happen with this yarn. Ta-ta! Of course, what you can do is the simple version is to make 2 rectangles and sew them together, but I wanted to have one that's continuously worked around. So not like this, 2 pieces, 2 rectangles sewn together. Easy choice. I would want it continuously. And I have a reasonably good idea of how I could probably achieve that. Yeah, that's the only challenge I see. But I also have an idea in mind for that. So we will have to see. We'll have to see. It could be that, depending on how everything with all the shawls are going this year, so to say, the Heart Collector shawl and so on, then it could be that I will go out and get yarn. This is a good yarn to work in the sense of it's an easy and it's achievable, like price-wise, also a good price. And then it could be that I would go intentionally to get some to attempt to make what I think it could be. And then if it works out nicely, then I'll need to make a second, but that's fine. Yeah, let's make hats and waffle, or similar as waffle stitches. Lisa says, although if you seam it, it gives more structure. It depends on how it's done, I think. But yeah, I have ideas. So should be fine somehow. More important is I wrote it down. I also have a hat in my mind, but that is actually that's something else. should write that down too. Done. It's just my, so I don't forget, note list. I think we may as well reach to do one more row, because we don't have that much left on this row. Looking on the time, it's realistic to do so. Yeah. Again, we have this talked about hydration. And I'm clearly a poor drinker. I don't think so, I am, but the data says I am. What I should do actually is I should measure a stitch and get an estimate on the amount of rows I minimum need. But it's not that important because I'll just probably measure as I go. That's what we have done so far. It's worked fine. And I also know for sure I need more. If my tea contains caffeine, lightly. It's a classic black tea. It's infused with a taste of mango fruit. So it's a fruity tea. I also have a bit of milk in it because I drink tea the English way. I also drink water. I just know I drink water when I stream because especially when it's cold like now, I feel cozy with tea or lemonade. So that's usually like a syrup you mix up with water. Soft drinks, but not that many actually. Like a glass a day max on average. Then I'd rather have something else. But sometimes, like, or if we go out eating, I will drink soft drinks, but that is definitely not my main liquid in intake. Remnant says with the shrug, it's better to arrow too long than too short. Yeah, I agreed. Too short will not be an option because then it can't close around my arms. And I do have some fat around those arms. And unfortunately, we can't say I just only want to lose weight on specific location points. That is not how the body works. Would be amazing though. I am sure there are definitely more women that would agree. Maybe to some extent also even men in between. Oh. But I can assure you that I would love to have few locations, but I'll be fine. So I'm just giving it again as a little stretch of those last 2 rows. And then let's do fun math, calculational math. How many rows do I need to make? Not including the starting row. So we do need to look at 2 stitches. It's optimistic to say there are 1.7 centimeters divided by 1.7. 27, 54 rows is a good estimate that I need. Plus maybe 2 to 4 repeats, like a couple of repeats extra for the extra ease, positive ease, but at least 54 rows. I've always been the weirdo who prefers water to soda. I don't like carbonation. Gotcha. Yeah, I get that. If you give me soda, if it's not carbonated enough and it goes what I would call flat, so no bubbles, I won't drink it. It just doesn't taste nice. Then I'd rather have water. But I wouldn't just take any water. The water needs to be cold. I can't just drink water. Like the water here in the Netherlands, we can drink it directly from the tap. It's good. It's healthy. It's clean. They do really good water handling here, water management. But I need to cool it. So I have bottles of water, which I take from the tap, and I place it in my fridge to cool it down to fridge temperature. So when the water is like 5 degrees Celsius, then I think it's very nice and drinkable. And I'll drink it. But when it warms up too much, I won't drink it because it just doesn't taste. I do drink probably at least 1 or 2 of these a day. No idea how much that will be. That's probably like half a liter of tea. But I don't always empty them completely. Depends. Sometimes it takes too long for me to drink them because I'm a poor drinker, apparently. Lisa says, oh, I acquired a new project to buy yarn for in Spain. One of the guys I was down here with got engaged to a wonderful Mexican girl, and I'm now going to make her wedding shawl. Oh, that's beautiful day. Good luck. Nice. Wedding shawls are fun to make, I think. And I think she will be appreciative. It's a good mood to remember it. Susan drinks 1 coffee in the morning and water for the rest of the day. Revenant says, I have to filter my water here. Wacko tap water tastes awful. I wouldn't say that that's water tastes awful, but I think I am used to, because Denmark is on limestone, built on limestone or founded on limestone. So there's a lot of limestone in the ground in Denmark. And I'm used to that there is a higher percentage of cold in the water in Denmark. You can also see that when you wash your clothes in Denmark, it gets a bit stiff and hard over the time due to the cold in the water. So we need water softener often. But I love it. Like the best water I still remember to have had is at my granddad's old farm. He used to have a small farm. He had in the stable, or next to the stables, there's this hallway where he had a water tap standing, and it was this icy cold water that came out of it, like perfect all year round. Didn't need any cooling. Just straight from that was the best tasting water. And I think it came from his own well, which was like 200 meters away from the main house, right? My goodness, that is... Oh, I really miss that water. Here in the Netherlands, there is a lot less cold in the water. It's much softer, so to say. I can also both see that on when we do the laundry, but also generally just there are generally less cold here in the water than in Denmark, because it's not as limestone based, it's more clay underground. That is also the reason for when people build new houses here in the Netherlands, they have to come in with a machine, big machine that hammers poles down into the bottom of the ground, probably like 20 meter plus poles, to ensure the houses won't sink over time, because it's the ground here is softer. Rana says I have 2 Brita filter pitchers in the fridge, but water is a good thing. I should do more water when we get to the summer. It's also gonna get too warm for me to keep drinking tea by then. Right now it's still nice and chill, so I'm definitely a tea person in the winter. But there are days where I drink less tea. And there are also days where I might not drink tea at all. That, especially in the summer, I won't always drink tea every day. And in the winter, sometimes there are days where I don't. Like if we have plans and have to leave the house and stuff like that, I'm not always gonna bring that with me or stuff like that. Susan gets Poland spring water delivered for my water cooler. Tap water tastes yucky except in coffee. Yeah, that sucks when it tastes yucky. Also depends, like there are places on earth I definitely won't drink tap water, especially if it's treated with a fluoride. Chloride, which would often occur in the UK, for example, or yucky, or Eastern Europe. So it highly depends on how the water is treated if I would do it. Lisa says, my tap water at home is great, but I also need to drink it cold. I have a water dispenser on my fridge, though. Yeah. My water I need cold. I need to be really thirsty, or it needs to be bottled water for me to drink it not cold. But for example, if I take the morning flights to Denmark, I'd often end up getting a bottle of water on the way, because I'd rather have that than a bottle of soda. Sometimes I do soda, but generally, in 90% of the cases, I end up buying myself a bottle of water instead. Denmark has also some of the cleanest water in the world, so that's awesome. So there is definitely obviously some expectations, I guess, for tap water. I also know a lot of people, they generally don't drink tap water. Um, Okay, so I am trying to finish this row before the end of the stream, but I'm not gonna give any guarantees. But it would be really nice if I did, because it's nice to end on a row. So I will try. And we definitely have made nice progress, I think. Crackety crack along. I think it's definitely reasonable to believe that we will reach that. Hallelujah. When I get home, this card getting put on pause so I can finish my 2 knitting projects and get my needles back for when I get home from Spain for this sweater quantities of yarn. Yeah, it sounds like you really have lots of bringing back home, of course, and you are going to make now a bridal shawl too. So you are not going to be bored, my lady. It definitely sounds like you have plenty of plans. Da, 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 da. And I don't know if we have any new watchers or subscribers today, but if you're in here, hello to you. Welcome to this live. We are, though, unfortunately about to end it slowly. And have you watched from the beginning until the very end? Thank you so much for your support and watch. I genuinely appreciate your visit. Lisa says, I never had plans like this before. I usually am on a chaos craft and I just make whatever I feel like making. It sounds a bit like me, except I'm technically a bit planned because of the series I made, right, for the Advent calendar. for the Shop My Stash, because the goal is to make those projects. So that is also what is currently queued. Susan says, have a great day or evening, everyone. Most definitely, Susan. I am sure we will have an absolutely wonderful day and evening. I'm here for about maybe another 5 minutes. That should fit with us wrapping up this row and doing the nice normal have a nice day greetings. I am going to be back on Friday with another live. That is the plan. And then I will be absent for a week, and then I will be back again the following week. Yeah, I'm wanting to be stuck on my finger. What I can say is that here in Europe, it's definitely slowly visible that we are heading into the lighter time of the year, because it is less dark here at 5 p.m. So that is nice. It does give some positive feeling on this. The weather in New Jersey is sunny with a temperature of negative 20 degrees Fahrenheit, so that's negative 7 degrees Celsius. Wind is blowing from west at 11 miles per hour. And the humidity is 46, so it is indeed still sunny there. You can send the sun here. You can keep the temperatures. But we are slowly at the time of the day where the sun is going to be disappearing. So I'm not sure if it's really going to make that much of a difference. It's just a thought that it's sunny. That's nice. So sun is definitely a nice thing. There we are, row complete. So I'm just going to insert my stitch marker and show you guys this absolutely freaking gorgeous. And it's a nice stitch definition too of this yarn. The one end, the other end. It's nice, but we have a bit to go because, as you know, we're going to sew them together. And right now my finger fits in a bit more than my finger, but still. So we have quite a bit to go. I'm definitely not going to be bored with this project, and I will also need to cake a new skein before the weekend. Because this, my friends, is what we have left. We're now within or close to on the same line as the turning center here. So that's definitely decreased. So I think this weekend that this skein is definitely used. And that is even if I am working on finishing my other projects. So one more down, so to say, almost. We are making good progress. Great progress, actually. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today, because it is 2 minutes to 5. And we are definitely heading close to wrapping up this. As I said, I am going to work on finishing this beanie. It is a 2 knit 2 rip, 54 stitches. And it does have a nice stretch to it. Not going to do it too closely up due to the needles.
And this is the yarn I have left for it. And I only have very little on this skein, and then we are gonna pull the center of this. It's right there. And we're gonna work that in and work it from 2 ends. And that should finish up this hat. This hat currently measures, just for those that might be curious, we are at 8 inches. So we don't need that far to go. I feel it's realistic to get, and I think also if I stretch it a bit, it will be a bit longer. So that was without putting stretch stitches. If I just quickly stretch it a bit, it's probably more like 8.5. We'll see. Yep, 8.5. It seems stretchier, but what we can do is once I've finished this, I don't know if I'll get that done today. It could also be, yeah, I don't think I have time to do it today, actually. Maybe. No, I don't think so, realistically. Yeah, I don't know if I have it finished for Wednesday, for Friday, I'll definitely compare. But what I can also promise you is that I compare it maybe in the Untold video, if I remember. I think it's somewhat stretchier, actually, a little bit. But that's just this impression. I'd like to actually compare them side to side. Because if I can fit this one with 54 stitches, then it's definitely stretchier than the other one, because the other one would feel really snug and tight on 54. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. Everybody, stay warm and have a great day. Don't forget to hydrate. Don't forget to enjoy your day. Be in peace. Be happy. Happy crafting. And I'll see you definitely on Friday's live. And if not, then I'll see you in my next video. Take care and happy crafting. Love you all. Thank you for your company. I've really enjoyed myself. And thank you for watching. Bye.